Hi, everyone. Very nice to meet you all. I'm so sorry I'm calling in from remotely. I would love to have met each one of you, and I saw all the fun and dancing. I'm missing out on that fun as well. So I look forward to interacting with you all. I think Anu wanted to make sure that there won't be any trouble in the half an hour talk. So she's going to play the recording. I'm so sorry, and then I'm online for answering any questions. Thank you, and it's a wonderful to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Geeta. Thank you for joining us. And I'm sure that, yes, you definitely would be missing this, but we are really happy to have you on board for this conference. So, we have a small video that will be played that runs around the future of cancer care with AI. And then the floor will be open for Q&As, and she'll join us back at that time.
Said best way to predict the future is, yes, to create it. So let's see what we can do together to create the next wave of cancer care. First, get the definitions out of the way. When I say artificial intelligence, it is a broad term used to actually represent algorithms and applications which use historic data, which are labeled by humans, learn and crunch and analyze this data to create probability and statistical models so that they can try and make similar decisions more precisely with lot of data that's newly available and try to mimic how humans or experts actually make the decisions. And you would have heard about all the buzzwords of machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning. All of these are subclasses of this broad AI that we are talking about. And also, when you talk about AI and machine learning, you can do it on different data types. It could be text, then it's called natural language processing, and you can do it on images, speech, that is audio, dear Siri, um, and traffic data, Ola, Uber. So there are several applications, and yes, we are going to talk about healthcare applications. And particularly when we talk about applications of artificial intelligence in cancer care or healthcare, I want to generally divide this into two classes of applications. One, set of applications using AI to optimize the resources and processes used in the hospital, such as reducing the waiting time at the registration counter or ensuring that when the person comes in, let's say for an ICU emergency care, then he or she is allocated the ICU bed in an optimal manner, and so on and so forth. These problems are very kind of similar to applications in other domains. Now, the other set of applications we have mentioned here are what are called as clinical decision support applications, where AI will be used to improve overall quality of care and health outcomes, right? For example, use of AI for diagnosis, estimating the prognosis of the disease itself in the person, or predicting the risk of a person to get a particular disease, and so on and so forth. It could also be for precision medicine, where you're just looking at a lot of patients' information and then saying which group does this patient belong to, so that we can learn and utilize the learning from previous treatments that we have done, so that we can give a precise set of medication or dosage of medication that works for a certain subclass of patient group. So basically helping in treatment planning. You could also use it for like understanding more about the patient, learn what is the genetic markup of the person, again used for better treatment, and so on and so forth, right? And again, focus a little bit more on medical images and how analysis of medical images using AI can actually improve the overall quality of care and also reduce healthcare costs. Sorry, what are medical images? Medical imaging is a technique and process of imaging the interior of a body for clinical analysis and medical intervention, as well as visual representation of the function of some of the organs or tissues. Typically, when we talk about cancer care, first part of the whole thing is to figure out if somebody has cancer or not, detection of cancer itself. And for that, I mean, it's the whole body, and where do we start looking for cancer? So, a medical image will non invasively detect whether there is any abnormality that looks like cancer or not. And you have seen these kind of images somewhere or the other. Medical images are also those which are, for example, uh, you know, um, staining of a tissue, right? When seen by a pathologist, right? Even those fall under the medical image category. Now, several devices which can actually generate these medical images. You would have seen all of these devices in maybe when you went to a hospital or a diagnostic center. It's a lot of engineering excellence out here to actually do this medical imaging. It could be in X-ray, it could be an ultrasound, it could be a CT scan, MRI. All of these are different ways of looking into the body. First, to identify where the problem is, and then after that, pull up the tissue from there so that we can diagnose whether really there is a problem or not. So, these medical images are very complex, and we need specialized, trained radiologist doctors who are have the capability of actually identifying abnormalities in these medical images, right? And these are called radiologists. And it is also well known that artificial intelligence has a huge benefit to radiology because AI is very good in visual analysis, could be images or videos as well. And it has also been proven in many, even cancer care and many other diseases, that it improves the productivity, enables the radiologist to read more scans because now the AI can be like a robo doctor or a helping assistant to the radiologist and quickly analyze and identify abnormal areas that require attention or make sure that normal scans are quickly scanned by the radiologist. It is also known. It is also known that it reduces misdiagnosis, that is, unnecessarily calling somebody as cancerous when they're not. So you can, avoid many of the false positives and unnecessary tests that we need to do on the person. It also reduces missed diagnosis, that is false negatives, where a cancer that is there could have been missed by oversight, or maybe because of several other issues in the image. Images are very, very complex. But my favorite one is how AI can divide. We have seen in the COVID time as well that how there is a lack of healthcare infrastructure in the rural areas and how it affected the way we were able to treat and intervene early with the patients, right, in the rural areas compared to urban areas. And most of the doctors are in the urban areas. So by first these tools, the AI-based tools, can help in improving the productivity of the doctor in the urban areas, like we talked about, but it also can become some kind of a robo doctor in rural areas to identify people who require attention immediately. So, for example, a robo doctor or an automated analysis can triage the patient, classify the patient into different risk categories. A person may be red, yellow, green. Red means somebody who requires attention immediately because there is a high likelihood of something being abnormal, maybe cancer as well. So here, an automated tool can actually do the triaging. And this is what we are attempting to do. Largest causes of cancer deaths, which is breast cancer. 684,000 women died last year because of this disease. 2.2 million new cases in the world. It is a big problem because 1 in 12 women around the world may have an abnormality in their lifetime. The best way to actually detect whether somebody has abnormality or not is to do regular screening, annual or biannual screening, so that we can detect it early, because early detection is very, very critical to save lives. Early detection also means reduced treatment costs and better efficacy of the treatment, because if it is late detection, the cancer can recur, or uh, it is of course expensive, but the effectiveness of the treatment will be lower. Unfortunately, when you look at mortality rates, that is number of deaths by number of instances of cancer, it varies across different countries, 16% to 60%. So, for example, India, every alternate lady detected with breast cancer is dying, 96,000 deaths every year. Well, how can we stop this? How can we enable early detection with regular screening? The only way to stop this is by enabling screening for everyone. However, while mammography is the default standard for breast cancer screening, it is not accessible and affordable to so many countries, and that's the reason why you have high mortality rates. Hand examination, what we call as clinical breast examination, is the standard. Even in Indian preventive care, like from National Health Mission, it says do clinical breast examination in all the villages, in all the places, and that's the only thing that we can afford to do. But clinical breast examination or hand examination can only detect 2 centimeters of lesions, not reduce that. So it's directly stage 2 or above. There's also an experience issue, which is basically compression and pain, that deters many women to take the mammograph test, or once taken, they generally tend not to repeat. And this is also a reason why many women detect the cancer rate late. There is a physics limitation of mammography where, um, what dense tissue. So mammography, or which is basically X-ray of the breast, can be any of these four categories, A, B, C, D category. And the radiologist is now looking at white spot, and it's easy to find here. It's probably easy to find here, but as the density increases, in category C and D, it's very hard to find even a small lesion or a big lesion, because it gets mixed up with this rest of the tissue, right? These are normal breasts, but when there is a lesion, even a big lesion can get missed out, right? So, many people have looked at how can we do artificial intelligence-based analysis on mammographic X-rays so that we can identify lesions of this nature, cancer lesions like this, which are likely to get missed out. And for example, one of the um, papers which was published in Nature in 2020 by Google um, actually showed that with this they were able to detect many more cancers, that is, reduction in false negatives. 9% more cancers were detected, and about 5.7% false positives were reduced, that is, unnecessarily calling somebody as cancerous and taking them through multiple diagnostic workups. So this is trying to address the dense, breast issue, but it is a physics limitation. If there is cancer in this part, that even an AI on the same image cannot detect. In our team, right, Niramai, we started looking at another modality called thermal imaging, where we just measure the temperature variations on the chest using a thermal sensor, which you would have seen in the entrances of buildings, airports, bus stations, and all, thanks to COVID, for fever screening. The same kind of thermal sensor is used to analyze the temperature distribution on the chest area, so that you get an image like this, where every point signifies the temperature value at that particular tissue. And we get about 4 lakh temperature points per person. And this is analyzed using AI based software that we have developed called Thermalytics, to generate a report which says whether there is an abnormality and what is the probability that it is actually cancer, and also where is it, so that a follow-up diagnostic workup can be done. And this is, resulted in 30 international granted patents, 11 granted in US, 11 granted in India, and rest in Japan, China, Singapore, Canada. And it also has several regulatory clearances. So this is a new method that we came up with in Niramai. With this, we are able to detect cancer many years before a lump is felt, before a symptom is felt, before a clinical examination finds the 2 centimeter lump. We're able to detect 5 millimeters of cancer with this. It works for dense breast, fatty breast, under 45, above 45, and it can also work on men too. There's absolutely no radiation. We just measure the temperature variations on the chest using this thermal sensor. And what you're seeing here is actual photo of the device and the laptop. And so it's a very portable, small screening device which you can use inside a hospital or can also be used for screening outside the hospital in rural areas, corporate offices, homes, apartment complexes, and so on. It has a wonderful patient experience where the lady enters into a room, she closes the door, and she sits in front of this device for about 10 minutes. The technician is also outside. I call this changing room experience. There's no one who is touching you or seeing you when the person is inside the room. There's no pain, unlike other tests, and there's absolutely no radiation. We're just measuring temperature. This is a new method that we developed. See how it kind of, quickly, you can see in the video how it works. She's just rotating on a stool, and the instructions to rotate is given by from outside. This is basically a phenomenal use of artificial intelligence for detecting early cancer, what we call as computer aided detection using AI/ML, right? Where the five, like this, frontal, lateral, and oblique views, are uploaded into our artificial software, which does the analysis and generates a report that goes to the radiologist for a quick review and signature. First, we first check for the quality of the image, whether the image is taken properly, all the five views are taken or not. There's a 10-minute patient preparation, whether it was done or not, because garbage in is garbage out. So you better get good images. So that is automatically done. And because of this, we are able to get simple health workers to start using the software, because if the health worker does any mistake, the system is able to detect that there are some errors in it and quickly ask her to redo it. Then also we extract a lot of features which are semantic in nature from the thermal images, and including, for example, blood vessel segmentation, because there is higher blood flow and vascularity seen in the affected breast. And also about 117 different patterns of abnormal thermal patterns are extracted and analyzed to generate a report which has multiple, scores, I would say. Scores are called thermobiological score, areolar score, vascular score, which indicates what kind of abnormality that is there. For example, a thermobiological score says that there is more infectious or what we call as neoplasmic activity, and increase in temperature is seen, which looks little abnormal, irregular, and so on. Areolar gives you indications of any ductal issue near the center point, and vascular score tries to model blood vessel network in the left and the right side to find abnormal asymmetric blood vessel activities. And finally, an indication of whether there's a potential suspicion of malignancy is also given as different scores to the radiologist, which is a standard way of marking up. And then the images where the marking of the cancer location is mentioned, automatically annotated, is also generated. This is what we call as Thermalytics 360. And in order to enable rural scans, right, we have other methods like triaging and all that, where there's no doctor, the reports are given. Um, this solution can be deployed and has been deployed in over 150 and 80 hospitals around India, about 29 cities. They've also been used in corporate offices, with a makeshift room that is created inside a corporate office, conference room, and it just takes about 15 minutes to do the test. We also have a bus funded by Rotary International to do screenings and scans near rural areas. You don't really need the bus, but because it's portable. But yeah, so this gives an opportunity for screening anywhere. And recently, during COVID, we actually started private screening at home, where you can just come to niramai.com and register for screening, and our team will actually come home and do the screening at your place, just half an hour in your own room. So far, about 80,000 women have screened, and we are commercial in 29 cities in India, in Kenya, Dubai, and also now Turkey, Sweden, and other places. These are some of the places we can talk more about it in the Q&A. So quickly, you might be wondering whether does it work or not. So we definitely had to do a lot of clinical evaluation and testing before we took this to the hospitals for providing to the end users. And the way we did the testing was that every person who was coming for a mammography or ultrasound first took the thermalytics test, and the machine actually generated a yes or a no. And then the same person went for a mammogram and an ultrasound, or both in many cases, because mammography many times are inconclusive, both are done. And then if any one of those two are positive, she went for a biopsy as per the clinician or doctor's guidance. And a doctor looked at all these reports and said yes or no. So this is how the clinical performance comparison was done, and been published in several papers. And one of them is an ASCO JCO paper, where we found 100% sensitivity in screening population, where every cancer that was detected by mammography and or ultrasound were detected by us, with about 8% false positive rate. As you can see, specificity is 100 minus false positive rate. This was published in the Global Oncology Journal. So the 100%, when actually compared in a different study with the mammogram as a standard of like comparison, that is, the reference standard remains mammography, ultrasound, and imaging. But we wanted to check, how does mammography alone perform, just like we checked how does thermalytics alone perform. And we were surprised that many cancers were actually missed by mammogram, while these cancers were actually caught by ultrasound or an MRI later. It was, this was, surprising to see. And it was found that most of them did like this. The top images are mammograms, and bottom images are actually thermalytics. And when it's a dense breast, you actually, it's very difficult for even a human eye to basically detect. We talked about it earlier. Whereas the physiological image, which is a thermalytics image, is able to detect very easily that there is a big issue, which is of course a transformed image, and so we are able to see the big blob easily. And so we have several such cases. Again, these were published in Journal of Clinical Oncology, which is again a very good test. Recently, people have been saying, okay, Niramai is using thermography. How is it different from thermography? Also, actually answer these questions by doing an analysis of, you know, with and without AI. So in this particular study, you will see that, the pink is Niramai and gray is just, a expert doctor looking at the image and saying whether it's likely to be positive or not. And we see that so many false positives are coming in the specificity case. 20% higher specificity was seen in AI-based analysis. So what we call as misdiagnosis reduction was seen in this particular study. How AI can benefit thermal imaging. Here we actually showed these images to 3 trained radiologists trained in thermography as well. And we found what we call as area under the curve, which is signifying how well an algorithm behaves, to be much, much higher than the individual radiologist. As you can see, this has almost 0.12 2 increase in our area under the curve, which is a significant increase in specificity and sensitivity. So it is very important to actually um, use artificial intelligence over thermal images, because it's very hard to interpret a thermal image. And in a thermal image, you're looking at temperature values, and you're not looking at the temperature values. You're looking at the color image, and in a color image, 32-degree and 33-degree may both look orange, and it's not we are not able to discriminate the temperature variations, whereas in a computer, first of all, we look at temperature variations, we can model it using historic information and so on. Finally, I want to present a few studies we did in the rural areas, because that's very, very important. So here is a study that we did in Karnataka, in northern Karnataka district called Gulbarga or Kalburgi. And here we did about 3,500 screenings of women in the taluk, and 79 were found to be positive. So here is where the advantage comes in. Given that, I've shown that, Niramai really performs well in finding cancer. Instead of bringing 3,500 people to the hospital, which is very difficult in a village scenario, we need to now bring 79 people, right? And out of that, 30 so far have been brought in, and 11 of them had an abnormality, which is cancer or precancer. So this is where the triage helps in as well. So you could actually do several of these screenings in rural areas, take the solution to the rural areas, do the camps, and detect people who need to be brought to a hospital to do it. Another study of 14,000, close to 14,000 women, got published in a very top journal called Lancet Oncology, where out of 14,000, we found 600 people to be likely positive. And this is a slightly older study. Otherwise, we do what we call as double positive test, and I'm happy to talk about it later. Experience, right? All said and done, a no touch, no see experience is something that everyone loved. And also, so many women, 98.7% of women, had never ever had a test, and this was able to address it, which is exactly why. For those of you who are interested, there's several publications, up to 30 publications, that we have published in top reputed peer reviewed journals, and also some of them are conference publications. And we are happy to share these, and I think it's available on our website today, because it's very, very important to show the clinical efficacy in a systematic study, before we take it. And the second important aspect of developing any medical device or medical innovation is to ensure that we have regulatory clearances. And today we have regulatory clearances from India, from Europe, and the CE mark is approved in many other countries beyond Europe, in Philippines, Kenya, UAE, and also recently we obtained a 510K clearance for one of our devices, which allows this particular tool to be used in addition to mammogram in US, because we have not yet done studies in the US. After that, we'll hopefully get the clearance for the full device. And also, it's important to have and show that an organization has all the quality uh, processes in place, so that we can deliver error-free software. And so ISO 13485, for example, is a quality management system standard that we need to follow, and we need to get audited every year. And also, because it's a software as a service, we have to ensure that we are satisfying all the data privacy requirements, and also cybersecurity requirements, which has been done well by our team. Is currently thermalytics is mainly for breast cancer. We believe the technology is applicable to several other type of cancers, and we are open to collaborations or in this forum, right, to take this solution to several other diseases, and then non-invasively, in a radiation-free manner, detect abnormalities early. And because early detection is so critical, we really have to and have an opportunity to stop deaths due to breast cancer by enabling early detection. Has provided us so many recognitions and rewards. Some of you would have seen our recent BBC News, which I was told that it hit the record of 2.5 million views. Hopefully, all of them will feel encouraged to do a breast screening, and then our mission of creating awareness is also satisfied. We also have a grant from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We won the World Bank Award for Global Women Health. We won the Commonwealth Digital Health Award in NCD category, the non-communicable disease category. We were the top 10 medical devices in UMass Boston. Europe, it said, the most emerging technology um, in medical devices called MedFit, and so on and so forth. Of course, we were also the winners of the National Startup Award. So all this, of course, wouldn't have been possible without the Niramai team, who's passionately trying to solve this problem. We really owe nations again and partnerships to take this solution to millions of women in India and elsewhere and save many lives using technology, particularly AI. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Geeta, for joining us virtually. I think a very detailed and a wonderful presentation. And I just read the last line, saving many lives with artificial intelligence. Well, definitely, AI is definitely raising the bar of how future of cancer care looks like. So thank you so much for joining us virtually. And the floor is now open to taking questions, if anyone. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks a lot for listening patiently.
Hi,
Please go
Geeta.
ahead.
I hope I'm audible to you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Geeta, I'm Paro Mishra from Triple IT Delhi, and I'm pursuing a study in Femtech, and the presentation that you made is just fantastic. Clearly,
Thank you.
there's a potential for a lot of ground level impact. The one thing I wanted to ask was that when you are pitching this technology to hospitals, right, what is the kind of response that you're receiving? Is there resistance to it? Because we understand mammography is way more expensive. It's also a money-making business. So what has really been the response of the hospitals in the Indian private sector, particularly with respect to adopting Niramai? Thanks.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Yes, ma'am, you're
Okay.
audible.
I'm just hearing some noise. Okay. So basically, what happens is initially when we, let's say 3 years back, when we were actually pitching to the hospitals, the first question they would ask is, does it really work? Show me that it works on our system, on our patients. Our patients are different from what you have tested, and so on and so forth. So initially, it was more like trying to do this test on, I don't know why I'm hearing a lot of noise. Anyway, initially it was more about enabling evaluation at the hospitals, and then they feel comfortable, and then they start using it. Now, people, because we have published it in top journals and so on, we realize that is the way to go. People are able to believe that this actually works, and we have, I think, passed that barrier. Now it is about they've already invested in the machines, and making sure that their investment is taken care of. So big hospitals, not naming, I would love to name, but just in the just to make sure that we maintain privacy for everybody. So if a big hospital already has an investment in mammography, there are two things that are happening. Either they say it's fine, get this also, because I'm not able to screen women under 45 years of age, and I need to address many more people. And obviously, everywhere it has to have an economic, connection. Otherwise things don't move. So it's really about making additional revenue from women under 45. So that is one reason why they will actually have it inside a hospital. The second set of people, what they're saying, okay, I'm happy doing what I'm doing with the current one, but any new center I'm opening, I'm not going to buy the bigger machine, but the older machine, but I'm going to sort of, use this. So it could be small centers, satellite centers they're starting. So they're almost everywhere. Very big hospitals are just using our solution. So that is how it has been, and our aim is not to sort of go head on, because only 10% of the ladies in the whole world are going through the current system that exists today, right? and out of which almost 160 million is only in the US. So in India, only 2% of women are going through this screening with mammography. So, please let it continue, because we really want everyone to detect early. For those who are not able to go to that scheme, or they're not able to go because of the age, density, or access, affordability, here is the solution. And time will tell how if there is any transformation that is happening. But now, just to sort of say the other part, this is about big hospitals, right? But there are so many other diagnostic centers, where we don't even have any existing breast cancer screening service. So in all of these places, they're very, very happy to go directly. Yeah. But it does take effort. We are a small sales team, allowed to connect with anybody. So we generally trying to work with dealers and distributor to take it to to actually do the sale and focusing on.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So
Thanks.
much, Dr. Geeta. Anyone in the room? Any more questions? All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Geeta, for joining us on this wonderful day of this conference. And we really value your time and appreciate that you could join us virtually. And thank you so much. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot for the opportunity.